the port that feeds Nigeria. Everyone knows Lagos is Africa's economic giant, but very few realize that Lagos is secretly addicted to Cotonou. Up to 70% of the frozen chicken, second-hand cars, rice and textiles that land in Nigerian markets actually arrive first at the port of Cotonou, then cross the border informally at Semakrak. Benin levies lower duties and has far less bureaucratic chaos, so importers prefer it. Nigerian customs lose an estimated $4 to $6 billion a year because of this route. In 2024, China financed a $500 million expansion of Cotonou's port under the Belt and Road banner. By late 2025, the new deep water berths can handle post-Panamax ships. That single port is now capable of swinging entire West African supply chains. If a hostile power, or even a mildly unfriendly government, ever controlled Cotonou, it could choke Lagos within weeks. That is why France, the US and Nigeria all treat Benin's stability as a core national security interest. The cotton that clothes the world, and funds French banks. Benin is the fourth largest cotton exporter in Africa, and cotton is 40% of its GDP and over 80% of export earnings. What most people miss is that almost the entire crop is bought, ginned, shipped and financed by French conglomerates, Geocoton, Louis Dreyfus and Advance. Those same French banks are the ones that underwrite the CFA franc system. In other words, Benin's cotton harvest is one of the hidden pillars keeping the CFA zone solvent. When the December 7, 2025 coup plotters promised to end neo-colonial monetary slavery and leave the CFA franc, Paris understood the threat was existential. Within 48 hours, French special forces from Gabon were on the ground in Cotonou alongside US drones from Niamey. The message was clear: Benin's cotton fields are French strategic reserves. The Russian play that almost worked. On December 6, 2025, a group calling itself the Patriotic Front for the Liberation of Dahomey seized the radio station in Porto Novo for exactly 19 minutes. The leader, a former Beninese army colonel trained in Moscow in the 1980s, declared that the era of French puppets is over and that Russia was ready to supply Su-25 jets and Wagner instructors. Pro-Russian telegram channels exploded with celebration. Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger all sent quiet congratulations. What leaked 2 days later was chilling. The plotters had prepositioned 40 Russian PMCs, former Wagner, now Africa Corps, in northern Benin, disguised as mining consultants. Their plan was to take Cotonou port in a lightning 12-hour operation, declare a new government, and dare ECOWAS to invade. The coup collapsed only because a junior Beninese officer tipped off the French embassy at 2 a.m. By dawn, Nigerian Alpha jets were screaming over Cotonou, French commandos had secured the presidential palace, and the plotters were in handcuffs. Russia officially denied everything, but the damage was done. The West now sees Benin as the last domino before Nigeria itself. The uranium whisper. Everyone talks about Niger's uranium-feeding French nuclear reactors, but very few mention that Benin sits on low-grade, easy-to-mine uranium in the Atakora Hills near Natatingu. Areva, now Orano, quietly renewed exploration licenses in 2023. The deposits are not world-class, but in an era where Europe is desperate to diversify away from Russian and Kazakh uranium, even 500 tons a year matters. More importantly, the same geological belt runs straight into Niger. If Benin ever flipped to the Russia-Sahel axis, France's fallback uranium route would be cut. That is another reason French troops will never fully leave the region, even after the bases in Mali and Niger were kicked out. The quiet American base that doesn't officially exist. Since 2022, the US has been flying unarmed Reaper drones out of a civilian agricultural research airstrip near Parakou in central Benin. Officially, they are monitoring locust swarms and jihadist movements in the tri-border area with Burkina Faso and Niger. Unofficially, those Reapers give Washington real-time eyes on every Russian or Chinese move in the Sahel. The December 2025 coup attempt triggered an immediate surge. Within hours, U.S. Air Force C-17s were landing humanitarian supplies at Cotonou Airport, and Beninese airspace was effectively under American control for 72 hours. Locals noticed the Stars and Stripes patches on the aid workers, who suddenly flooded the city. The bottom line. Benin Republic is only 120 kilometers wide and has 13 million people, smaller than many single African cities. Yet in December 2025 it became the place where French jets flew alongside Nigerian jets, where Russian mercenaries almost won, where Chinese port cranes kept rising even as gunfire echoed in the capital, and where American drones watched everything from above. It is not about Benin's size. It is about what happens to West Africa, and to the global balance, if this one quiet country ever falls the wrong way.